I am super excited today. Why? Because we are going to start Azure Virtual Network. Why, guys? Because this is one of that topic when I start learning Microsoft Azure. The good thing about me is I already started my career in networking. So I was aware about lots of concepts, but when I start configuring these things in Microsoft Azure, and it is, I just want to tell you, it's so easy for those people who have already learned a lot about networking. Like if you already heard about routing protocols, if you already know IP addressing, if you already know subnetting, how these devices are working, and if you already worked on one of the network part in on-premises, this video is going to be so simple for you. But guys, if you remember, we have lots of viewers, at least not lots of, I have only 2.8k subscribers. So out of them, there are many subscribers who actually start their career now for the first time in Microsoft Azure. So they all need to know many things about networking. So guys, this video is right for you, because here we are going to start with overview and step by step in AZ-900 or AZ-900, and together with AZ or AZ-104, we are going to learn lots of concepts, lots of practicals, and it's all about networking. And why I'm so excited about this, guys, because I think if you don't know networking in Microsoft Azure, or in fact in any place, it's so much difficult for you in terms of planning, deployment, and of course implementing solutions for your organization and of course for your clients. So let's begin with today's topic, and I'm going to explain lots of things about in this video. And of course, don't forget, if you heard any word and if you don't understand, it is absolutely, I suggest you to raise your questions in the comment box. And just like I said, I have a plan to share lots of things with you in a webinar or in one-to-one talk very soon, because guys, I'm finally back, and I do apologize for my delay response in creating in these videos, because I know that most of you are just waiting for the new videos. And guys, sorry, I was stuck and I was in a bad situation. Don't worry, I'm definitely going to share with you, and I have lots of things to share with you, because you always say, Harsh, even you started your this videos, you have told us you're going to share something about Microsoft. I do remember that. Don't worry, I'll share with you about my life. Maybe it can give you some kind of inspiration, or maybe it can help you to build your own life, because whatever the life I actually handled, it's very common for each and every one of us. So don't worry, I have that plan, and I will certainly start sharing very soon, and obviously I need your support and help. All right, let's come back. So hello guys. Let's start with the introduction. My name is Harsh, and in this video we will talk about 3 core important things, and obviously it's all about overview. Don't think we are going to go so much in deep and try to learn lots of things in this one. No, we are going to go step by step, so that whatever the people who is watching this video, or at least try to learn networking or Microsoft Azure networking for the first time, you all should have very much confidence when you directly go to your job roles or try to give any interview, or in fact if you're planning to give any examination. So guys, in the first part, I want to discuss, and I will discuss about networking versus Azure Virtual Network. Now let's talk about networking. I give you one very basic example, and I'm sure it will give you very much clear understanding about those concepts. About those concepts means about those who is watching or trying to learn networking concepts for the first time. Now see, I think most of you, or I can say all of you, are having a Wi-Fi router, or we call it Wi-Fi access point sometime. It's actually the same to me. But imagine that you have that Wi-Fi router in your home, and you are usually connect our mobile phones, our computers, our laptops, or maybe you have smart house devices. For example, bulbs, tubes, or maybe toilets. If you are rich enough to purchase smart toilets, then yeah, it could be that thing as well. So the point here to mention TVs, yeah, I don't want to forget that part, because we always like to watch Amazon, Netflix, Woot, what else? Subscription. I mean, many of the subscriptions like Hotstar, Sony Live. I want to give all the name. Maybe these channels maybe come back to me after a few years and say, Harsh, please try to try to share more about us so that people start watching our subscriptions or our episodes or something. Although I think they don't need me, they already have lots of viewers. But anyway, this is just my kind of dream that maybe this big organization should contact me one day. But definitely that day will come, I'm sure. And you guys is going to help me, right? By contact your friends and your family members to learn these videos, because I'm really spending all this good time only for you. And I think you are really enjoying every bit of it, which I'm putting lots of efforts in these videos. Anyway, so you see, I'm this kind of excitement I have in networking. Every time whenever I talk about network, I always take you in other direction. But don't worry, from now on in this video, I will purely focus on Microsoft Azure networking along with on-premises networking, so that you will understand the differences. All right, so I was talking about the Wi-Fi router. I was trying to explain that you are always have this kind of use that you are connected your devices directly with the Wi-Fi router. Now, what are the advantages in the Wi-Fi router? One advantage, we all knew that whenever we connect our mobile phones, our devices directly with the Wi-Fi routers, we are able to connect internet without any issue. And I think that is the whole and sole purpose to buy those subscriptions from Airtel, maybe from BSNL, because I'm living in Bangalore at the moment. So I purchased ACT FiberNet and it's brilliant. I really like it. Geo performance is also good nearby my places. But anyway, I'm just trying to explain that my old devices are connected to that particular small Wi-Fi device, and because of that, I can also transfer my data from one device to another device. Now, for example, you have one laptop and one PC, and in case you like to transfer any of your data, and I think it would be better to give you one example from this PC. Now, for example, this is your one machine and this is your second machine. And obviously, at the moment, you are connected. Let me just create one Wi-Fi device. Yeah, I think this is my Wi-Fi device. Okay, good. So both of these machines are connected with the Wi-Fi device, and I want to transfer any data from this machine to number 2 machine. I can do that easily. Now, what you need to know, the next topic is IP address. I think I need to start first explain about this IP address before to explain about virtual network. So what is an IP address? For those who is watching this video for the first time, or at least networking videos for the first time. And if you're already aware, thank you so much. Be my guest. I will try to give a very brief overview about an IP address. Guys, first of all, you need to understand it is called a current address, which means it's not a permanent address, because the permanent address in networking, we call it MAC address, or we call it physical address. Now, how you can find out, I can show you once I jump into the Windows machine, and I will explain you about how you can find the differences, because I want to tell you one command which can always help you to identify more information in the Windows machine. And if you are on a Mac Linux machine, don't forget to try ifconfig command. It can give you the actual IP address which is currently being assigned to your machine, because these addresses are responsible for to track down your location or your connection and transfer the data to the right connection. Just like you are planning to send a letter to your friend or your family, what you need actually, or maybe you are trying to send a parcel or a courier. So you just need to know the home address or the work address or the office address, which means if you have the correct information about your destination address along with the PIN code, right? You also need to assign the PIN code. For example, right now I'm living in Bangalore, so I have a 560064. That's a PIN code, because whenever I try to purchase anything online, so they definitely ask to verify my PIN code so that they can transfer my things directly to that warehouse, and then they send back to me at my home with the help of somebody. Anyway, the overall point here to explain all these things is you need an address, and that address is responsible for to receive and send data, because your device need an identification number, or it required some kind of number or some kind of address, so that it verify, hey, I know about this address, let me take your request from this machine to that machine, because obviously could be a possibility here. For example, I have an IP address here 10.0.0.1, and on another machine I have assigned an IP address 10.0.0.2. Now this is the IP address which actually this Wi-Fi router is going to store in their own RAM or ROM, whatever a storage space is available, a small storage space. So the advantage here is it actually remembers that the machine number 2 has an IP address, this one, and machine number 1 has an IP address, this one. So if 2 said, hey, I want to send an data or a picture or a movie or a video to machine number 1, please help me out. So actually it sent a request to here, and it said, don't worry, I know the address, I know the location. Then automatically it starts sending that information to the IP address, because as I said, this router is very much aware about the destination address. Now, why you need to know this? Because without this IP addressing, you are not able to communicate with any of the device anywhere in the world. In fact, your internet, your connections, even the whole world right now working based on these IP addressing. And don't worry, just like I said, I'm not going to explain lots of stuff, but very important stuff. So keep in your mind, if you don't have any IP address assigned to any of the device you have or you're running in your organization, whether it is in on-premises or in Microsoft Azure, it means that you are not able to connect that machine with any other machines, or in fact, you are not able to take full advantage of that server or that machine, because if you don't have any IP address, you cannot connect via any application. You are not able to transfer any data. You are not able to receive any data. So it means you are in a, kind of a black hole. I mean, you don't have anything to do because right now, whatever we are doing, it's all about an IP address. And I will show you in a minute that right now my mobile is connected to the Wi-Fi router. In fact, I will show you my iPad is also connected to the Wi-Fi router. And the good thing is both have assigned an IP address by that Wi-Fi router. I think this much is more than enough to make you understand why an IP address is important for you. Now, let's jump to the third point, which we will cover today, is Azure Virtual Network. So guys, Azure Virtual Network is all about a kind of a private space where you are able to connect multiple devices in that area. It seems like you are living in a community. So nobody can go and nobody can come in without your permission. Similarly, it's a kind of a virtual private space for you. And whatever the machines you are connected in that virtual network in Microsoft Azure, so the thing is, you are able to connect with all of these machines without any hassle. And exactly, guys, I give you one example here, just like you are working in an on-premises, because in the on-premises, you don't have just PC, you have maybe mobile phones, or you have anything which is directly connected to your Wi-Fi router. Similarly, Microsoft also provides that kind of facility where you are able to connect your devices with each other along with connection with an internet. So you have the complete power, whether you want to connect your machine with the internet so that lots of people can connect to the web server, as an example, you can achieve that. Or you don't want to transfer that data outside that virtual network, you can also manage that with sort of configurations. Obviously, we will talk about that more in the network access, or consider that in the next video. So guys, that's what you need to know at the moment, but don't worry, I will explain more and try to learn more about these concepts. But I think you are getting my point, and I can see and I can feel that I'm so excited, and I think you're also kind of imagine so many things I have to share with you. So guys, let's begin and try to understand more about Microsoft Azure Virtual Network now. Now we are going to go a little bit more in deep that how you can differentiate an on-premises and Microsoft Azure Virtual Network, because here I'm going to tell you both. Now let's start with first of all, in my house I have my Wi-Fi router and my devices are connected with that Wi-Fi router. Now first thing we need to understand that we have two kind of addresses which you need to remember always. Number one, we have MAC address. That's what we called a permanent address. Remember that it's called a permanent address. And the next address we have is an IP address. IP address can be changed and MAC address cannot be changed. Just remember this one. And I'd like to show you two different IP addresses in between one of my iPhone, which is right here on your screen, and I have my iPad also connected to the same Wi-Fi router, and I'd like to show you the IP address that has been assigned from that Wi-Fi router, because exactly the same way we can also identify our virtual machines created inside, and Microsoft Azure network is also connected with the same way. The only difference is here I have my physical device with me, means my Wi-Fi router is in front of me. I can unplug them, I can change them, I can modify anything inside that Wi-Fi router I want. It is all my preferences. But if you talk about Microsoft Azure, you cannot do that. You just need to follow some sort of software applications way to identify more information what you can change, but you cannot do any change directly to the Microsoft network as per your organization requirement. You have to consult and follow Microsoft options given inside Microsoft Azure. That's what you need to remember. All right, now let's move forward, because I like to show you where you can find an IP address in my iPhone and in my iPad. I'm pretty sure most of you are aware, but if you don't, then I think this would be helpful to you. Then simply go to Wi-Fi. If you go to Wi-Fi, here I am connected with Hirsch Wi-Fi 5G. I go to I. After I click on I, let's check out here. We have Wi-Fi address. Now, this is called MAC address or permanent address. It cannot be changed. And down below, if you go down, you can have configure IP, which is already set to automatic. That's fine. But don't forget and remember the IP address of this iPhone, which is 192.168.0.125. And the router, which is my Wi-Fi router, the IP address is 192.168.0.1, which means whatever I'm transferring from this iPhone is going through my router, which is 192.168.0.1, and I have a couple of more IP address configured inside that Wi-Fi router, which is taking my request to the internet without any issue. I think you get my point here. And now I'm going to show you the IP address on my iPad, and then we will move forward to understand more on Microsoft Azure Virtual Network. Now we are on our iPad and we would like to see the IP address being assigned by my Wi-Fi router. And to check that, just go to settings, same step, same way, go to Wi-Fi and click on I, and check here guys, this has a different Wi-Fi address, which is our MAC address. Just like I expressed already that these are kind of unique address and it cannot be same on any other device in the world. Now just imagine how many devices do we have in the world, including your mobile phones, your tablets, your computers, desktops, laptops. I mean, just think about it, and each of these devices has a completely different Wi-Fi address, because it cannot be same. And if it is same, it means that your Wi-Fi device is gonna be confused about the permanent address. So just remember, your Wi-Fi address is gonna be stored in the Wi-Fi router. so that they can recognize where exactly your device is and to whom the data need to be sent. Now, if you check the IP address in this iPad, you can find out the IP address is 192.168.0.148, because in my iPhone it was 145 and here we have 148. What does it mean, guys? I'm just trying to express that each of the devices which is connected to the Wi-Fi router is gonna have completely different IP address. But remember, the router IP address is same here as well. Why? Because again, this device is trying to communicate to the world, or I mean to the internet or to each other, is all going through that Wi-Fi router. So if you understand this, it would be very much easy if I try to express something more about Azure Virtual Network, as well as when we move to our Windows devices and try to see the IP addresses right there. So guys, let's jump on our presentation and try to understand more about Azure Virtual Network, because it can give you the confidence when you start implementing the solution inside the Microsoft Azure. And I just told you, you don't need to know so many things at the moment. Just go through the very basic thing which I'm trying to explain here, and it would be very much helpful to you to understand more about networking, because networking is not just finished right here. We have AZ-900 certification, which I'm obviously going to upload videos very soon after I create those, and we have much more in depth, in details. We will talk about this IP address, MAC address, default address, DNS, many other topics, NAT, network address translations, lots of things. So don't worry. But at the moment, I think you get my point. Both of my devices has a different IP address, and that's what you need to remember always, because if you like to send or transfer any data from one device to another device, make sure they both do not, or I mean the machines which is running inside your network do not have the same IP address assigned, because if you do, it's a conflict. And if you have a conflict, these devices are not able to communicate with each other. So this is what you need to know and remember always. All right, so let's begin with more understanding on Azure Virtual Network. So I already expressed that in on-premises, those devices which is directly connected, just like I have in my home as a Wi-Fi router, I have complete control on that Wi-Fi router, which means I can shut down that Wi-Fi router, I can restart that Wi-Fi router, I can change setting inside that Wi-Fi router, which I expressed already to you. And that's exactly what we call on-premises network. And we don't just have this Wi-Fi router, we could have a router, which is a big router, which is responsible for to make a connection from one country to another country within your organization. We may have a layer 2 or layer 3 switches. These are again physical devices which can allow you to connect again from one location to another one. You may have normal layer 3 switches, which is actually handling your IP addresses. Why I'm using these names? Because if you are trying to find something more about that from Google, it would be really helpful to you. So it's all about devices. So if you have your physical devices right here with you, it means you can connect through your on-premises network, because here the big difference is you can control all of that devices. Because I'm keep repeating this because most of people are like kind of confused about the differences between virtual network, which is in Microsoft Azure Virtual Network, and in on-premises network. Another thing I like to share with you just for additional and more information. The thing is, if you have configured your on-premises network with the help of layer 3 switches or a layer 3 router, which is actually a big deal. So in your organization, we can also configure, if you have multiple ports available or LAN ports available in your router or in your firewall, could be a firewall, or it could be a layer 3 switch or layer 2 switches. So basically here, the organization actually gives you more feasibility to give virtual network management, which means you can separate. For example, here this is my switch. I'm just trying to give you one quick example. That's why I'm creating this bad drawing. Don't mind about this bad drawing, because just like I said, I'm so much excited to give you all this information, and I want you to remember that, because if you actually go to any of the interview, they sometimes ask this question that, okay, you talk about VNet. What is VNet? What is virtual network? Does it configured in on-premises? So if the person really do not have any idea about these physical devices, or sorry, on-premises physical devices, that's the right word. It means that you're kind of confused and you really don't know about the virtual network. So guys, what I'm trying to explain here is, if you have configured multiple machines, for example, let me just use my red colors again. It is connected to one machine here, here, and here, as an example. So which means I can also change these many ports should be in VNet 1. I'm just trying to give you one example in on-premises. This is all about on-premises. This is VNet 1, and this all ports, which is obviously connected multiple machines here. How many ports are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So total I have 6 here, and I give the name of these ports are in virtual network management VNet 2 as an example. So guys, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, these 8 ports in VNet 1 and these 6 ports in VNet 2 now virtually separated, which means if the machine is right here, for example 10.0.0.1, and I have 10.0.0.2, even though they are in the same subnet. What is subnet? I will explain in the next part, but I'm just trying to give you an example here. It is absolutely same. The only difference is number 2, right? 1 and 2. So I already expressed, if you need to give the different number, otherwise we cannot live in the same house. Definitely you don't want to allow your neighbor to live within your house, right? Without any reason. So these two IP address must be different, obviously. But the point here is, if even though they are previously able to communicate with each other, because we have not separated them via VNet, but now we did. So in that case, guys, even in that case, they both machines are not able to communicate with each other. Why? Because they are in a different virtual private network. As an example, this is a separate network. That's it. And we have virtually divided these networks within those intelligent on-premises devices. I think you get my point. So this is all about a virtual network, and exactly, you guys, exactly the same way what Microsoft has done here. They have the physical device. Obviously, they do have physical device, but they create some application. Now this application does have the functionality of these virtual network environment creation, and which means that you don't know where your machine is connected inside Azure Virtual Network, but the good thing is you can virtually separate them immediately as soon as they have created inside Microsoft Azure. Advantage is, it doesn't matter how many people trying to join Microsoft Azure, they all will get this virtual network separately, which means how many machine you have connected, because they even don't tell you how many machine is connected to one switch or another switch. They all are interconnected, and the good thing is they all are working like a single device. So that's a beauty, and that's a good thing. So what we are doing here is, we are virtually whenever we create a new virtual machine, as an example, or any resource in Microsoft Azure, it does actually goes to a separate virtual network which is been assigned to you by default as soon as you start creating those Azure resources or virtual machine, which again mean This is me. This is me as an example. I have VNet 1 in Microsoft Azure. You don't know you are in VNet 1 or 2 or whatever. However, I'm just trying to give you an example. And this is somebody else. This is you, not me. This is you. So when you create any virtual machine, the Microsoft will assign you a separate VNet. Again, what advantage you can find here is you even don't know there are couple of more machines is right here available within the same network, same location, because you are actually separately or virtually divided by Microsoft automatically, and that is why you are not able to communicate with other people. Now, another question. Harsh, can we create more virtual network so that we can put backend server in one VNet and another front-end server in another VNet? Because definitely I don't want that somebody can have my access of my front-end server. They also must have access to the backend server. Yes, the answer is yes. You can do that within Microsoft Azure, and I will show you where you can create a separate virtual network. But I think you understand the concept. If you understand the concept, now let's go to this picture, which is right here on the right hand side, and let me explain a little bit more here. And I think after that, the concept will be very much clear to you what I'm trying to explain about Microsoft Azure Virtual Network. So guys, here, as you can see in, as an example, I have Azure Virtual Network, which is considered one. I will explain you how it is different to each other. And this is my 2, Azure Virtual Network 2. So what you have decided, this is your front-end servers, all of your front-end servers. And this is my back-end servers. Obviously, I want this way. And I don't want that they are able to communicate with each other. Or maybe you can also imagine in your mind, if they are not a front-end, back-end server, you can imagine this is client A, and this is your client B, and obviously you don't want that client A are able to communicate with client B machines. But if you can see these 4 machines, which is right here in Azure Virtual Network 1 or VNet 1, are obviously in the same virtual network, right? And you can see that IP address with the default subnet mask, which means that I will explain later. I don't want you to confuse here anyway. So here the IP address is 10.2.3.4. All are in good shape. They are not able to communicate with each other. I mean, I'm wrong here because I thought something else in my mind. So apologies, guys, my mistake. What I'm trying to explain here is, if you're trying to communicate from 10.0.0.1 to 2, 3, 4 in the same virtual network, they all are able to communicate each other without any hassle. But if you're planning to communicate with another devices within your subscription, but they are in a different VNet, by default, they cannot do that with any of these virtual machine, because as I said, they are privately, virtually separated from each other. Yes. If you ask me, Harsh, is there any way we can make a connection between these 2 virtual networks? Yes, guys, absolutely yes. You can do that. But in this video, I'm not going to explain more, but you should remember we can do that. There are many ways in Microsoft Azure that you can allow to communicate from this IP address to this IP address as well. And of course, from this virtual network to this virtual network as well. So I hope you understand this overall now better. And why I mentioned about on-premises, because if you want to connect your on-premises domain or servers or anything to this VNet 1, you can do that using VPN service. Or we have another service called Express Route, which is a directly connected service, but it does require help from an ISP, which is internet service provider. You need to contact your internet service provider, and they are able to help to set up and build a private and a public connection to Microsoft Azure internal network directly from your organization. Advantage, you don't need to go from this way, data from internet and then from internet to your virtual network or your Microsoft Azure network. What you can do, you can also directly transfer from your on-premises to Microsoft internal network or virtual network directly, and that's an advantage. So you need to know this as well. This is feasible. This can be achieved, because when you give AZ-900 examination, sometime you realize there's a question regarding express route, and you need to know that express route is responsible for to send your data right inside from your on-premises organization, or I mean on-premises network, to directly Microsoft internal network, or in fact inside your virtual network if you like to configure in this way. Obviously it does require some additional configuration, but right now you don't need to know and remember that. Now finally, before to go to the IP addresses, and of course before to show you more on you can say that the Microsoft Azure, so I like to tell you that virtual network, Azure Virtual Network, now as I said, I'm sure that you already understood all these things which I already expressed and explained here. Similarly guys, it's a private network in Azure, and each and every subscription and each and every user has a different, user is not a right word, each and every subscription has a default separate virtual network. And yes, you can create multiple virtual network if you like to connect your machines in a different VNets, if you really have that kind of requirement. And obviously all of these virtual networks are connected to the internet by default, but the good thing is, yes, you can control, you can stop them communicating over the internet. It's all up to you. So we will try to cover in upcoming videos about this. And the most important thing is, if you are planning to communicate within inside these VNet, you are able to communicate by default. But if you have some security rules that you assign, hey, I don't want to communicate from 10.0.0.1 to 10.0.0.2, again it is feasible. So just like I said, networking is a very flexible component. You must be aware about this possibility in yes and no form, and when you are going to give any examination, you have to open your mind, read your questions carefully, and then give the answers, because Microsoft has lots of questions are very tricky, and they put you in a situation where you kind of quite blur and said, I really don't understand whenever they talk about network concepts in Microsoft Azure. But I think you get the whole overall idea about virtual network. Now let me take you to the Microsoft Azure and show you where you can find virtual network, and where you can also identify the IP addresses from Microsoft Azure. And in case you get a chance to check inside virtual machine, especially on Windows operating system, what options you need to choose and where you have to go to find those information as well. So we are on the way to go to Microsoft Azure and check where we can find the IP address already assigned to the virtual machine. Along with that, we will also definitely see that where are the options for virtual network, and you must be aware where you can go and create your virtual networks if you really want to do that. Now, before to move into Microsoft Azure portal, I like to give you the recommendation for this link, and don't worry, I will share the link in the description as well. So simply you can go and try to learn more from this link, because I found this link so helpful. And if you are learning Microsoft Azure Network for the first time, I think this link would be so much good for you in terms of getting knowledge, because here they are not just able to express the things, even they go a little bit deeper. Although, just like I said, most of the topics we have already covered in this video. If you don't want to go into this video and everything, in this link, it's okay, because in this video you have all the knowledge that is required for the examination purpose or even for the knowledge purpose. However, if you really are interested to know more, then I think it's fine to go into this link and find out more information. And yeah, one additional thing I like to tell you, how many virtual networks you can create. As far as the limit concerns at the moment, guys, I can tell you approximate 3,000 virtual networks you can create maximum in an Azure subscription. Not more than that. I had a word with one of the Azure networking team earlier, and they told us previously it was 1500, but they, or even in fact 1000 in certain areas, but now they increased up to 3000. But I think more than that, there is currently no limits. There's no more than virtual networks you can create. But I think it's more than enough to create any of the organization if you really want to move your infrastructure. So that's fine. Okay, let's move to the Microsoft Azure portal. Right now we are here. It's been a long time. We have not gone through a couple of practicals because you have seen already all of my video, I think so, who is especially following these videos. But don't worry, I'm certainly trying to I'll spend more time and create those videos for you. However, we are in this place, and if you like to start reviewing your IP addresses, so the step number 1, go to virtual machines, which is obviously right here. In the virtual machine, on the same place, on the same default portal in the overview, over here, you can find out the public IP address. Now, remember guys, there are two kind of IP addresses are available, public and private. Private means it is given to the certain very kind of important people who really wants to access the data inside the virtual machine. Yes, you can also use your public IP address to connect with the internet directly and of course access your data. But most of the organization, they don't like to give public IP address to their virtual machine or to their servers. Why? Because they're really scared about attack, ransomware or malware attacks from the internet directly on the server, which is obviously directly connected to the internet. So the fact is, you need to understand about private IP address configuration, which you can find not here. Obviously, this is the public IP address. I'd just like to point out here for you. And here you have the private IP address. As you can see, private IP address is 10.0.1.4 right here. And currently I have not assigned any IP version 6, as you can see, right? But this is something important for you because I'm going to show you how IP version 6 IP address looks like, at least for the overview purpose. So this is one thing. Second thing, if you really like to configure something more about networking, then go to the networking section inside any of the virtual machine. So as soon as you click on this, you can find a couple of more details. First of all, leave these down below port because this is all about NSG, which is Network Security Group. Don't need to learn, don't need to know that at the moment. Just remember, this is only for the security policies or filtering purposes. That's it, not now. You need to know. So the thing is, here you can see the virtual network. This is the virtual network name. The name of the virtual network is Harsh Arena or Harsh Arene Net. I forgot to type A. That's okay. And the name of my subnet I have given. Subnet means an IP address subnet, which I have given is that is 10.0.1.4, because guys, the default kind of subnet here would be 10.0.0.0, but right now I choose a very dedicated subnet here, which is 10.0.1.0 to 10.0.1.255. And if you are using a default a kind of subnet, then we are going to choose from 10.0.0.0 to 10.255.255.255. So this would be the range. But guys, right now, as I said, you just need to go through the overview and need to recognize your IP address. That's all. Now, more on this, if you really need to know after you understand where we can find out IP address and everything, and if you like to configure the virtual networks, so you need to type virtual, and as soon as you type virtual, the second option under virtual machines, you can find virtual networks, right? So click on this option, virtual networks, and here you can find out I have created one specific virtual network, and it is currently under East US 2. Don't forget that, because this is very important. Why it is important? Because you can only configure one virtual network in one certain location. You cannot connect. For example, you create a virtual machine in central US or in India. You cannot connect that particular machine with this virtual network. You have to create a separate virtual network in that location. So be careful while creating your infrastructure for your organization. That's a very important thing. Now, if I go to in this particular virtual network, obviously to create a new one, just click create and go ahead with the step. It's very simple, next tab kind of option. But what I'm trying to explain is, as soon as you click on virtual network, here you can find out there are two interfaces belongs to two different kind of machines is now connected to this virtual network. So here, even though you can find out the IP addresses, and here you can find out the difference as well, guys, both are in a different subnet. This 10.0.1.0 or 10.0.2.0, this is what we call subnet or address space. So just remember that it's a very critical thing in terms of allowing machines to communicate. So you need to know this. And if you like to know about the address space, you can simply go to address space here as an example. And if you click on address space, check out here. The default address space is 10.0.0.0/16. 16 means 255.255.0.0. Now question is, Harsh, how did you calculate that? Don't worry, I will express and I will share with you at the after completion of this understanding about where you can find out more information. But what I'm trying to explain, another thing is here is address range. So my address range complete would be, I can choose any IP address in between these IP addresses, starts from 10.0.0.0. Obviously you cannot choose .0, and 10.0.255.255 because it is 16. If it is 8, then I can choose from 10.255.255.255. So that's all about subnets. And if I take you to the subnets, which is right under this place, if I click on subnets, you can find out I have created a couple of subnets. So how many IP addresses I can connect in the subnet, and why subnet is required, guys? To protect wastage of any of the IP addresses you have configured inside your organization, because this 10.0.0.0 address space actually comes into class A, just for your reference, and class A can connect approximate 1.67 million IP addresses. But because of the subnet we are using, and right now the subnet is 24, how many IP addresses we can connect in this subnet? Only and only 251. Obviously, if you have more, you can connect. That's not a problem. But you need to know how you can use your address space here. All right. So this is all about how you can find out more information about virtual network, about assigned IP addresses, about address space, about subnets. Now, if I take you to my virtual machine, obviously, this is my virtual machine, and obviously I'm using Windows 11. Yay! Windows 11 is going to come on October 5. I'm so excited, guys. But don't worry, I already have that. Actually, I have joined Insider program from Microsoft, and because of that, I'm getting all the early updates. And the good thing is, I do not find any bugs, especially while I'm using it. Although my primary driver in today's life is Mac operating system, but I'm like to use Windows most of the time, especially whenever I'm creating any videos or preparing some document, something like that. So it's really helpful for me, and I really like Windows 11 in terms of interface. Finally, Microsoft think about the interface better, although they have actually done a couple of good things in Windows 10. But however, I'm really liking it, and hope Microsoft is going to fix the bugs. All right, we are not here for the bugs and not for Windows 11. So let's go to the CMD. Definitely, this is one of the way to find out the IP address in your machine, because if you are running a Windows machine, how you can find out? So type command prompt and go to run as administrator. Yes. Here, the command is ipconfig. If you type ipconfig, it just gives you the IP address assigned to this interface. But if I type /all, guys, this command can help you to see all the required information for which is related to the IP address. If you type this, you can find more information. Let me just make this a little bit big for you and try to scroll up. So there you go. So here you can find out very much more information where like if my machine is connected to any domain or not, the IP version 6 IP address, which looks like this at the moment, and obviously the IP version 4 which I have, and all sort of details you can find under this place. Or if you don't like to go to this command prompt, if you like to see from the UI, then the very right hand side you have a very kind of a TV or a kind of a monitor link, or of course with a network connection link. So click on this one, or right click, it's fine, or just simply click here and go to this settings, which is right here. If you click on settings in Windows 11, then simply go to network and internet. In network and internet, as you can see, Ethernet is connected, which is okay. And of course, it can gives you more information that how much data I have been used in last 30 days, which is a good thing from Windows 11. I simply need to click on Ethernet if you like to see the IP address. If I go to Ethernet, and here guys, you can find out the IP address which is assigned to this machine, as well as of course the IP version 6 IP address. So that's how you have you actually identify the IP address inside your virtual machines or inside your any of the operating system you're running related to Windows. And it's common for all of the platform in Windows. So all of the platform, that's a wrong statement, Harsh. Windows 95, Windows 98, they are completely different, but I'm sure you are not using those. I told you, I'm excited. All right, guys. So at the moment, I think you get the idea that what is all about Azure Virtual Network and what is all about an IP address. But I'd like to give you a little bit more information on IP address, a very slight information, because more in details I will cover certainly in AZ-104. But I like to remember that we have that topic and we need to understand more about it, because whatever we have learned right here is not enough to understand subnetting, because that's the part I have not covered. So we will talk about that subnetting part in AZ-104, but at the moment is more than enough for you to know and remember. But let's go a little bit more overview on an IP address and subnet. Now we are on our last step for today's video. We need to just go through a little bit information, because guys, the more details about an IP address I will not cover today, but certainly in upcoming videos in AZ-104, because we have lots of time, and of course we need to know how subnetting is working in terms of an IP address. But at the moment, now you are aware what is an IP address, why we need to use it, and how we can configure. All of these information is right with you at the moment. So I like to go through a quick review about an IP address, and I like to share with you some of the document, and you can find those links in from your description of this video, because those document really gonna help you even though you go through by yourself. However, my responsibility here is to give you the brief idea about an IP address and give you the quickest way to understand about those documents, and then it's all up to you whether you want to spend time here or you need to wait for my AZ-104 video, because in AZ-900 certification, or in terms of understanding about an IP address, is not required in depth. So guys, what is an IP address? It is a kind of a unique address. I cannot call it unique because unique means in terms of it can change or it cannot be changed. Yes, consider that it's a unique address and it can change. That's the good thing about an IP address. It works on layer 3, that is a network layer. And the fourth important thing is it is the purpose of using an IP address is to identify your device by a certain another device, like a Wi-Fi router or anything. The good thing is whenever your machine or your device is trying to communicate over the network, it can be identified in general via an IP address, and that's how it works all the time. Another thing you need to know and remember that IP version 4 Actually, it has two types. I told you already. IP version 4 is a 32-bit IP address, and IP version 6 is an 128-bit IP address. So just remember that, and I give you some quick example that how actually it looks like in case if you like to find out more information. Wow, I have a biker here. Nice. All right. So as you can see, these two IP addresses we have already seen. And let's talk a little bit more about these documents, because I have copied the screenshot of these documents right here in the portal. But I really like to take you to the place here in browser. Okay, so in this three different documents, the link you can find under this, you can find multiple these documents. In the first one, I like to share with you that you need to remember there are common protocols and ports that in each and every day basis you may need to remember whenever you're working in any of the job, or maybe you go for an interview. So I share with that information. I request you to go through and remember all of these ports. Then I already expressed about the IP address classes, class A, class B, class C, including their default subnet mask. Now remember that we can change the subnet mask for each and every class. However, at the moment, it's just a default subnet mask. So even though I mentioned host, like here we have this host, I mean network and host. It means that how many networks you can create in class A and how many hosts in each of these networks can be connected. So I told you 1.67 million approximate IP address can be connected if we use a default subnet mask. Similarly, class B and class C. So this is what you need to go through. Apart from that, I just want to tell you additional information been also shared in this document. Maybe it can help you in your examination. So just like I said, I'm not going to go in deep at the moment, but these are the documents which you need to know and remember always. Now the next thing, which is very important, and even before that, I think it would be better start with the decimal and binary, because if you like to know and learn about subnetting, I already give you one example in the third document, but how you can actually calculate these 32-bit. So guys, you need to know one thing, that an IP address actually is just for easiness for us, because we can remember this much small numbers. It's okay. Although I was very bad in, and even I am very bad in mathematical calculations. However, when a device is communicating with your another device, they always works in binary form. So guys, when you think about the 32-bit, so in each of these decimal, as an example, 223, right? Only this one. This 223 is having 8-bit, 172, 8-bit, 16, 8-bit, and 31, 8-bit. Now, how these are being calculated? So as an example or a formula shared by those network guardians or network scientists, that's all I can say. So they use this formula. They just type in this kind of column 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, 1, like this. And then, because as you can see, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It means 8-bit. So that's the point. So when you have 8-bit, now you need to actually convert the values like IP address values like 10.0.0.1 into binary, so that you can better start working on the subnetting. So guys, if you like to change to 10 with this formula, then check out 1. It cannot be used because it is 10. So 10 would be, better way is 4 plus 2 plus 1, 7, not a good idea. 4 plus 2, 6, 8 plus 4, 12. So would be 8 plus 2, 10, right? So the value which we actually use in calculating 10, it will turn to be 1 and rest of the values like 28, 64, 32, 16, 4 and 1, they all consider or calculate as a 0 because here I'm not using any value as an example. So this is another classic example just for your reference. In the end you can find 2, right? So how it has been calculated? Something like this one. As you can see, it is 0, 0, 0 and last is 1 and 0 because 2 is right here and rest of the values are 0 because we have using these 2 value here. That's why we're considering as a 1. And I can tell you, if you are learning this for the first time, it's going to be difficult. That's why I write down here the formula, the conversion, everything for your reference. And I think you better go here and try to learn a little bit more. And once you learn that, now this is completely all about subnet masking. We will more discuss and talk about this in AZ-104, not today. But again, I really like to share with you this document because I have a couple of examples I have added for you, and it's going to be so much useful when you try to understand, okay, this is the purpose, because I have expressed and mentioned everything right under these documents. Now, if I go back to my presentation, so finally, let's wrap up this video. So guys, I know IP addressing, or even in fact the addressing is having too much in discussion today, but remember, this is not this much. We have lots of different topics need to cover, and I will try my level best to give you all the information so that you don't need to go through the documentation, because if you like the video and you like the format or like the content, I'm really happy for you. So that will be all, guys, and right now what's the time here? The time is 1:19, so I think it's a good time to sleep for me. So guys, for now, please take care of yourself, and I really appreciate and thank you so much for watching this video. I really like that you are liking all the content and you are requesting to create more content, and I'll certainly create more content in the future. Please guys, I'd like to apologize once again for my delay response in creating those videos, but don't forget, I was stuck, and I will explain in another video, because I don't want to share such things in this training videos. So I will create a separate video where you want, maybe some of you are interested, not everyone, but some of you are interested in me, and I would like to share my lifetime experiences, and as well as a couple of more technical things or gadgets related things, because I'm fond of gadgets and perfumes and many other things. Anyway, let's wrap up because we have already spent a lot of time. So thank you so much for watching this video, guys, and I really appreciate you are here. And if you have not subscribed yet on these videos, please do subscribe, and I request you to talk to your friends if they really are want to learn something new. I think these videos can help them in free of cost. You don't need to spend any money. Anyway, for now, take care. Have a good time. Peace.